What if the ultimate sacrifice was actually the ultimate deception? Think about it. The moment that had millions weeping, Tony Stark's heroic end in Avengers Endgame. What if that wasn't an ending at all, but the start of something truly sinister? Imagine the face of the man who saved the universe, now just a mask for its potential destroyer. And no, we're not talking about some variant, a Skrull, or a crazy dream. We're talking about a horrifying possibility, a theory that's gaining some terrifying traction, that Victor Von Doom, the infamous Doctor Doom, pulled off the unthinkable, that he actually stole Tony Stark's body. And the rumored return of Robert Downey Jr. to the MCU, it might not be as Iron Man, but as Doom himself wearing a tragically familiar face. So get ready, because the hero you mourn might just be the villain you're about to fear. If this theory holds any water, the truth is more shocking than any snap. We all remember those final moments of Avengers Endgame. They're burned into our brains, right? Tony Stark, the Iron Man, wielding all 6 Infinity Stones, saying those unforgettable words, "I am Iron Man," and snapping Thanos out of existence. It was the payoff for over a decade of storytelling. A hero's sacrifice that saved the universe but cost Tony his life. The grief was real, both on screen and in every theater. We saw him die, surrounded by Pepper, Rhodey, and a young Peter Parker. His funeral was a somber gathering, a testament to the legacy he left. The world mourned. We mourned. But what if that huge moment of sacrifice, that definitive end, was twisted in a way we never saw coming? This is where a really chilling theory starts to form. If it's true, it would change everything we thought we knew about Tony Stark's final act and what's next for the MCU. The heart of this theory is bold and deeply unsettling. Dr. Doom, one of Marvel's smartest and most dangerous supervillains, somehow managed to transfer his consciousness into Tony Stark's body, or at least take control of it. He'd effectively be stealing Tony's identity, his legacy, and maybe even his future. Now, before we go any further, let's be clear. As of right now, June 2025, this is still a speculative theory. It's not confirmed MCU canon. But the whispers and discussions about this idea are getting louder. They're fueled by a few things, especially the persistent rumors, and now confirmations, that Robert Downey Jr. is returning to the Marvel Cinematic Universe. And here's the truly mind-bending part. Reports and insider leaks suggest he's not coming back as the Tony Stark we know and love, but as Victor Von Doom. Why would Marvel do that? Why bring back the face, so tied to the MCU's greatest hero, to play its potential next big villain? The body swap theory offers a disturbing but weirdly compelling answer, because it is Tony Stark's face, but it's Doom looking out from behind those eyes. The directors of the upcoming Avengers Doomsday have even confirmed there's a connection between Iron Man's death and Doom's debut, and that RDJ will indeed play Doom. They haven't spelled out the exact nature of this connection or confirmed any body swap, but that official ambiguity leaves the door wide open for something truly shocking. The thought of such a deception is just monstrous. It means the Tony Stark who made that sacrifice might have been, in his final moments or right after, the victim of a theft so profound it overshadows almost any other villainous act. It suggests a level of planning and nerve that really only points to one person in the Marvel Universe, Victor Von Doom. The implications are huge, not just for Tony Stark's memory, but for the very ideas of trust and heroism in the MCU. So if a plan this audacious were to happen, when could it possibly have gone down? That final battle in Avengers Endgame was pure chaos on a scale we'd never seen. Armies were clashing, cosmic energies were flying, and reality itself was under stress. In all that madness, could there have been an opening? For a mind like Victor Von Doom's, chaos isn't a problem. It's an opportunity, a perfect smokescreen for things no one would think possible. Think about that battlefield. Total devastation and distraction. Every hero, every sorcerer, every guardian of the galaxy was fighting for their life. All eyes were on Thanos, the Infinity Gauntlet, the Chitauri, and the Outriders. Who would have been looking for a subtle, sinister move from a villain not even officially on anyone's radar in that fight? Doom is a master strategist playing cosmic chess. It's easy to imagine him observing, maybe from far away, perhaps using some unseen tech or magic, just waiting for that perfect moment of vulnerability. When could this theoretical swap or transfer have happened? There are a few terrifying possibilities. Was it right after Tony's snap? As his body lay there, life fading, the Infinity Stone energy still pulsing through him. Could Doom have made his move then? Everyone was focused on Tony's sacrifice, the grief, the shock of victory. Defenses, at least emotionally, would have been way down. Or maybe it was later. Think about the transportation and handling of Stark's body after the battle. No doubt it was done respectfully, but it's unlikely it was under the kind of mystical and super tech lockdown that could have stopped a determined Doom. He's a master of infiltration, of placing assets, of finding the smallest overlooked detail. A brief lapse in vigilance, a compromised piece of tech, a disguised agent. For Doom, these are all open doors. It's also interesting to think about whether this was a long-term, meticulously planned operation or an opportunistic masterstroke. Did Doom see this kind of event coming? Maybe even subtly nudging things from the shadows to create an opening? Or, with his incredible intellect and resources, was he able to see the chaos of Endgame unfolding and quickly whip up a plan this shockingly bold? Either way, it points to a level of foresight and ability that few in the Marvel Universe can match. The vulnerability at that moment wasn't just physical, it was systemic. Earth's defenses were stretched to their absolute limit. Its heroes were beaten up, exhausted, and emotionally wrecked. Even the Sorcerer Supreme's sanctums were likely focused on the main threat of Thanos. This worldwide crisis could have been the perfect storm for Doom to pull off a plan that, under normal circumstances, would be unthinkable. He thrives when order breaks down. And what bigger breakdown was there than the final battle for existence itself? The fact that we can even discuss this plausibly says a lot about the kind of insidious threat Dr. Doom is. This wasn't just a battle of strength. It was a moment where the universe held its breath, and in that moment, the shadows could have moved unseen. To even consider the idea that Dr. Doom could pull off something as huge as stealing Tony Stark's body and identity, we first need to understand the man, or maybe the monster, behind that iron mask. Victor Von Doom isn't just some other bad guy in a costume. In the Marvel Comics, he's consistently shown as one of the most brilliant, dangerous, and complex villains around. His intellect rivals Reed Richards and Tony Stark. His ambition is limitless, and he's a master of both super science and the mystic arts. Born in the fictional Eastern European nation of Latveria, his mother was a Romani sorceress and his father a healer. Victor Von Doom's early life was filled with persecution, tragedy, and an intense hunger for knowledge and power. His mother, Cynthia Von Doom, died in a deal with Mephisto, a key event that fueled Victor's obsession with mastering magic to free her soul. This tragic backstory gives us a little insight into his relentless drive, though it hardly excuses his villainy. He has an unbreakable will, a massive ego, and a firm belief that only he is fit to rule and bring order to a chaotic world. His order, of course. His genius is off the charts. He's a polymath, an expert in pretty much every field of science: robotics, cybernetics, genetics, weapons tech, time travel, and interdimensional physics. His famous suit of armor is proof of this. It's a mobile fortress with energy blasts, force fields, life support, and strength boosters rivaling, and in some comics, even surpassing Stark's Ironman suits. He's created Doombots, incredibly sophisticated robotic copies of himself, so convincing they fooled even the sharpest heroes and villains. These Doombots aren't just decoys, they're a key part of his strategy, his way of projecting power, testing enemies, and making sure he survives. The very fact that Doombots exist shows his long-running fascination with fakes, control, and a kind of manufactured presence. This makes the idea of him puppeteering someone else's body seem almost like a logical, if terrifying, next step for him. But science is only half of Doom's toolkit. He's also one of the most powerful sorcerers on Earth. He was tutored by Tibetan monks and has dived into forbidden knowledge that would drive most people insane. His magical skills are immense, covering spell casting, mystical energy projection, dimensional manipulation, and talking with supernatural beings. This combination of super science and dark magic makes him uniquely unpredictable and dangerous. He can come up with a technological fix for a magical problem, or a magical counter to a scientific attack. Now here's something huge from the comics that ties directly into our theory. Doom's encounter with an alien race called the Ovoids. From them, Doom learned an advanced psionic technique of mind transference. This power lets him swap his consciousness with another being through direct eye contact or even with technology he developed later. He's used this ability many times in the comics, sometimes to cheat death, other times to infiltrate or deceive. So this isn't just some wild fan idea about body swapping. It's a documented power in Dr. Doom's established skill set from the source material. His motives are complicated. While he's often shown as a tyrant wanting world domination, there are comic storylines where Doom's actions, however ruthless, are aimed at saving humanity from even bigger threats, though always under his absolute rule. His main grudge is often against Reed Richards of the Fantastic Four. This dates back to a university experiment gone wrong that Doom blames Richards for, an incident that also supposedly scarred his face, though some versions suggest the scarring was minor, and his vanity led him to wear the mask too soon and then permanently. This grudge could easily extend to another super genius like Tony Stark, who Doom would definitely see as an inferior rival and a symbol of a world order he hates. Stealing Stark's body wouldn't just be a strategic win, it would be the ultimate act of intellectual and personal conquest for someone like Doom. He wouldn't just defeat Stark, he would become him, and then, perversely, prove himself the superior Stark. So if Dr. Doom really did take control of Tony Stark's body, the how is a maze of terrifying possibilities, mixing his mastery of dark magic with his super scientific genius. While that ovoid mind transfer technique is a well-known comic book power, the MCU often reinterprets things. Doom could have used a whole range of methods, maybe even a combination, to pull off something this horrifying. One big fan theory, which lines up pretty well with recent MCU plot devices, involves the Darkhold. We've already seen this incredibly powerful and corrupting book enable dreamwalking, projecting one's consciousness across universes into a variant's body. Could Doom, if he got his hands on the Darkhold or its knowledge, have adapted this power? Maybe not dreamwalking into a living Tony, but what about projecting his essence, his mind, into Stark's body during those moments of extreme vulnerability, either as life was fading or even after death? The Darkhold deals with powers over life, death, and consciousness, making it a prime candidate for such a dark ritual. The book's corrupting influence could also explain an even more malevolent Doom, even if he thinks his actions are for some greater good. And let's be honest, a mind as resourceful as Doom's finding an artifact like that is definitely plausible in the MCU's expanding mystical world. Beyond the Darkhold, Doom's own magical knowledge is huge. In the comics, he's explored forgotten texts and made deals with demonic entities. It's conceivable he knows spells or rituals capable of soul transference, psychic domination, or even some form of necromantic possession, basically reanimating Stark's body with his own mind and will. This is speculative, sure, but totally within the realm of what a top-tier sorcerer like Doom could do, especially if it meant getting Tony Stark's resources and legacy. Then there's the tech side. Could Stark's own advanced technology have been turned against him? Tony himself experimented a lot with consciousness, from JARVIS to Ultron, to how his own mind connected with his suits. Could Doom have found a technological backdoor? Maybe a piece of Stark tech recovered or even subtly compromised long before Endgame held the key to this takeover. Imagine Doom using a super advanced version of Extremis or nanites, not just to heal or enhance, but to overwrite or absorb Tony's consciousness with his own. The idea of Stark's own brilliance being the very thing that allowed Doom to violate him after death is a particularly cruel irony. The most chilling possibility. A mix of both magic and science. Doom doesn't limit himself. He could have used a technological device to create a bridge, a conduit, and then used arcane rituals to force the transfer of his mind. Maybe nanites that not only repair the body but also act as receivers for a magically projected consciousness. This blend is Doom's signature. Where science ends, magic begins, and where both fail, his unstoppable will pushes through. Now, obviously, how exactly this would work in the MCU is still just well-reasoned speculation. It's based on Doom's established comic powers, things we've already seen in the MCU, and the nature of the body swap theory itself. There's no official confirmation of how such a swap would happen. But the very fact that so many plausible ways exist, given who Doom is, just highlights how terrifyingly real this theory could be. He isn't a villain who relies on a single trick. He's a polymath of destruction and deception, and the method he might have used could be as complex and horrifying as his ambition. The idea of Dr. Doom and Tony Stark swapping bodies isn't just some wild fan fiction idea that popped up because of recent casting news. It actually has a direct chilling precedent in Marvel Comics. The 2010 one-shot What If? Ironman, Demon in an Armor #1, lays out a disturbingly similar scenario, giving us a potential blueprint for what could be one of the MCU's darkest twists ever. In this What If story, things take a different turn from the main comics continuity back when Tony Stark and Victor Von Doom were at university. They're shown as brilliant, competitive students. During a risky, unauthorized experiment designed by Doom to communicate with his dead mother in the Netherworld, a recurring obsession for him, things go horribly wrong. Instead of just opening a portal, the experiment causes an explosion and a psychic backlash. In the chaos, Tony Stark's mind is forcibly transferred into Victor Von Doom's body, while Doom's consciousness takes over Tony's. The results are immediate and life-changing for both of them. Tony, now trapped in Doom's body, gets amnesia from the whole ordeal. He keeps his natural decency, but has no memory of being Tony Stark. He's found in the wreckage, mistaken for Doom, and eventually sent back to Latveria. There, still amnesiac, but with Doom's resources at his command, he ironically starts to rule Latveria much more justly and kindly than its original master ever did. He becomes a good Dr. Doom, a beloved leader, though he's haunted by a feeling of being out of place. Meanwhile, Victor Von Doom, now in Tony Stark's body, has access to Stark's life, his massive fortune, and Stark Industries. He plays the part of Tony, but it's a corrupted, twisted version. He pretends to recover from the accident, all while secretly loving his newfound power and the delicious irony of his situation. Doom. As Stark continues to develop Iron Man technology, but with his own sinister goals in mind, he essentially becomes a more ruthless, power-hungry Iron Man, pushing his own agenda under the disguise of Stark's heroic persona. The title, Demon in an Armor, is pretty literal here. The Iron Man armor, a symbol of heroism, now holds the demon, Victor Von Doom. The parallels to the current MCU theory are just striking. The core concept is identical. A direct mind or body swap between these two intellectual giants. The comic explores the deep identity crisis and the deceptive power that comes with such a switch. If the MCU is indeed going down a path where Robert Downey Jr. plays Dr. Doom, this comic provides a ready-made, narratively rich explanation for why Doom would have Stark's face. It's not just a variant, it's an invasion, a theft of identity at the most fundamental level. The directors of Avengers Doomsday have said there's a connection between Iron Man's death and Dr. Doom's MCU debut. While they haven't said exactly what that connection is, adapting parts of Demon in an Armor would be a powerful and thematically fitting way to create that link. It would mean Tony Stark's end was directly or indirectly the trigger for Doom's rise in a terrifyingly personal way. The MCU wouldn't just be introducing Dr. Doom, it would be twisting the legacy of Iron Man into something nightmarish, taking a page directly from this unsettling what-if story. The comic shows the devastating potential of Doom not just defeating an enemy, but consuming their life, their very being. For the MCU to even touch upon this would be a bold, dark move, forever changing how we see Tony Stark's story. The news about Robert Downey Jr.'s return to the Marvel Cinematic Universe has sent absolute shockwaves through the fan community. For years, his Tony Stark Iron Man was the heart of the MCU, the charismatic, flawed hero who kicked it all off and sacrificed himself to save it. So, when reports and then confirmations came out that RDJ would indeed be back, many of us initially assumed Iron Man would be resurrected, maybe through multiverse magic or some advanced tech. But the info that followed quickly was way more perplexing and fascinating. RDJ is apparently set to return not as Tony Stark, but as Dr. Doom. This casting decision is a bombshell, and it immediately makes you ask, why? Why bring back the actor so deeply connected with the MCU's greatest hero to play its potential next ultimate villain? The MCU could cast any number of talented actors to bring Victor Von Doom to life. Choosing RDJ is deliberate. It's loaded with meaning, and it's this very choice that pours gasoline on the roaring fire of the body swap theory. If this theory is right, the casting makes terrifying sense. It wouldn't just be RDJ playing a new character who happens to be a villain. It would be Dr. Doom literally wearing Tony Stark's face, his body, his mannerisms. Can you imagine the psychological impact on the remaining Avengers, on Peter Parker, on Pepper Potts, and Morgan Stark to see the face of their friend, mentor, and father, but animated by a cold, calculating, and evil mind? It's a masterstroke of psychological warfare, both for the characters in the story and for us, the audience. The tragic irony would be almost too much to bear. The face that stood for hope, sacrifice, and redemption would now be a symbol of conquest and tyranny. Every smirk, every familiar turn of phrase would be a horrifying echo, a perversion of the man we knew. This goes way beyond just seeing a beloved actor in a new role. It's about weaponizing that actor's iconic previous role against our emotions and the character's deepest bonds. The body swap theory gives the most narratively powerful explanation for this specific, and let's face it, highly unusual casting. It's not Doom as a variant who just happens to look like Tony by coincidence. It's not that Doom is just being played by the same actor for some abstract thematic reason. It's the horrifying possibility that Doom is in Stark's body. This would be the connection between Iron Man's death and Doom's debut that the Avengers Doomsday directors have hinted at. The most direct, personal, and violating connection you could imagine. It allows Marvel to use Robert Downey Jr.'s immense star power and audience connection in a completely unexpected and twisted way. We'd be drawn to the screen by that familiar face, only to be confronted by the alien intellect and sinister agenda of Dr. Doom. It's a recipe for a truly unforgettable and deeply unsettling villain. The confirmation of RDJ as Doom is a massive piece of the puzzle. The body swap theory provides the most compelling, though horrifying, picture of what that puzzle might look like when it's all put together. It's a revelation that promises not a heroic return, but a villainous resurrection in the most personal way possible. If this theory about Dr. Doom being in Tony Stark's body turns out to be true, the fallout isn't just universe-shattering from a plot perspective, it's soul-crushing when you think about his legacy. Tony Stark's sacrifice in Avengers Endgame was the ultimate selfless act, the final, definitive proof of his journey from a self-absorbed weapons dealer to a hero who would lay down his life for others. It cemented his legacy as the savior of the universe. But what if that legacy gets permanently tainted, not by his actions, but by Doom's monstrous theft? The first and biggest implication is that it could completely nullify, or at least grotesquely warp, that sacrifice. If Doom took over Stark's body immediately before, during, or right after the snap, was that final act truly Tony's alone? Or was it a moment of extreme vulnerability exploited by a master manipulator? Even if Tony's consciousness made the sacrifice, for his physical form to then be hijacked by his complete opposite is a violation of the deepest kind. His final resting place, his very cells, would become a prison animated by pure evil. Think about the emotional horror for those who loved him. Pepper Potts, who heard his last "I love you 3000, Morgan Stark, growing up with the legend of her father. How would they deal with the revelation that the man they mourn is, in some twisted way, walking again, but as a monster? For Peter Parker, who saw Tony as a father figure, the trauma would be unimaginable. For James Rhodes, his closest friend, it would be a betrayal beyond anything he could comprehend. The MCU heroes would be faced with an enemy wearing the face of their fallen comrade, a constant, agonizing reminder of their loss, and this new, insidious threat. And what about Stark's knowledge and resources? If Doom is in Stark's body, he potentially has access to everything Tony Stark was and everything he built. His memories, his scientific knowledge, the inner workings of Stark Industries, the blueprints for advanced weaponry, arc reactor technology, maybe even fail-safes and protocols only Tony knew. Doom, already a super genius, boosted with all of Stark's intellect and information, would become an almost unimaginable threat. He wouldn't just be Dr. Doom, he'd be Dr. Doom with the keys to Tony Stark's kingdom. The global network, the political influence, the technological infrastructure, all potentially at his fingertips. This would be the ultimate infiltration, a Trojan horse of cosmic proportions. Imagine Tony Stark, seemingly returning, maybe even hailed as a miracle, only for it to be gradually revealed that a far more sinister intelligence is pulling the strings. The public trust that Ironman painstakingly built would become a tool for Doom to exploit. The technologies Stark designed to protect the world could be repurposed to enslave it. This dark path would give the Avengers a terrible choice. How do you fight an enemy who looks like your greatest hero? How do you strike down the face that saved you all? It's psychological warfare of the highest order. Iron Man's legacy wouldn't just be challenged. It would be actively, viciously corrupted from within. This is the true horror of the theory. Not just the return of a villain, but the desecration of a hero's memory and everything he stood for. The battle wouldn't just be for the safety of the world, but for the very soul of Tony Stark's legacy. Okay, that was a lot to process, right? A truly dark potential path for the MCU, twisting a beloved hero's sacrifice into something absolutely nightmarish. Before we look at what this terrifying presence could mean for the future, if this theory has your mind racing and your whole view of Endgame completely shattered, do me a favor and hit that like button. And what's your gut reaction? Is this a stroke of genius storytelling, the ultimate tragic twist, or is it just too devastating a blow to Tony Stark's memory? Let me know your honest thoughts and feelings in the comments below. If Dr. Doom has actually commandeered Tony Stark's body, this horrifying twist wouldn't just be a standalone shocker. It would be the terrifying launchpad for the next saga-defining conflicts in the MCU, specifically the ominously titled Avengers Doomsday and the multiversal epic Secret Wars. The implications for Doom as the next big bad are huge, setting him up as a threat perhaps even more insidious and complex than Thanos. With access to Stark's appearance, memories, and potentially his resources, Doom's rise to power could be chillingly fast and deeply entrenched. He wouldn't just be an external conqueror like Thanos, he could be an internal cancer, corrupting Stark's legacy and institutions from within before showing his true colors. Imagine Tony Stark seemingly leading new global initiatives, new tech advancements, all subtly designed to push Doom's own agenda, perhaps leading to the very Doomsday event the Avengers film is named after. His motivations, always complex, would gain new layers. Is he trying to save the world in his own twisted way, using Stark's resources to impose his vision of order? Is Latveria's supremacy still his main goal, now achievable on an unheard-of scale? Or, with the knowledge he might have gained from Stark's experiences with the Infinity Stones or multiversal incursions, are his ambitions now even grander, maybe cosmic in scope, tying directly into the chaos of secret wars? The psychological edge Doom would have is almost impossible to calculate. Facing a villain wearing Tony Stark's face would emotionally cripple many heroes. Strategic plans, old Stark protocols, even personal vulnerabilities. Doom might know them all. This sets up Avengers Doomsday not just as a physical battle, but as a profound ideological and emotional war. How do you fight the ghost of your greatest ally, now animated by your greatest enemy? This version of Doom, a horrifying mix of Stark's image and his own tyrannical will, is perfectly positioned to be the central, unifying antagonist that could force the kind of desperate alliances and multiversal stakes promised by Secret Wars. He wouldn't just be a threat to the Avengers, he would be a threat born from their greatest triumph and tragedy. So, there you have it. The chilling, mind-bending theory that Dr. Doom didn't just pop up as a new threat, but did so by committing the ultimate violation, stealing Tony Stark's body after Avengers Endgame. It's an idea that flips heroism into horror, sacrifice into a grotesque opportunity, and sets the stage for a version of Robert Downey Jr.'s return that is anything but triumphant. We've talked about how the chaos of Endgame could have provided the perfect cover. Doom's established comic powers like the ovoid mind transfer, the dark precedent set by the What If, Ironman, Demon in an Armor storyline, and how RDJ's confirmed casting as Doom, not Iron Man, lends a terrifying weight to this dark narrative. We've also touched on some speculative ways this could have happened, like using the Darkhold or subverted Stark tech, and the devastating impact it would have on Tony's legacy and the future of the MCU. It's really important to say one last time, this is a theory, a deeply unsettling yet compelling one pieced together from comic book lore, casting news, director statements, and the boundless, sometimes terrifying imagination of E's Marvel fans. The directors have confirmed a connection between Stark's death and Doom's arrival, and that RDJ will play Doom. The body swap is the theory that bridges these confirmed facts into a truly shocking narrative. But what do you think? Is this the ultimate tragic twist the MCU is building towards? A way to reframe Tony Stark's ending and introduce its most formidable villain in the most personal way imaginable? Or is it a step too far? A desecration of a beloved character's sacrifice? Could there be another explanation for Robert Downey Jr. returning as Victor Von Doom that doesn't involve this horrifying theft? I want to hear all your theories, your reactions, your shock, your skepticism, everything down in the comments below. If you found this deep dive into the darkness intriguing, please give this video a massive thumbs up. And if you haven't already, make sure you subscribe and ring that notification bell. Because if theories like this are even close to the mark, the future of the MCU is going to be a wild, unpredictable, and maybe a very, very dark ride. You won't want to miss what we uncover next.